Now, may I request Mr. Javed Jabbar, who has joined us just now, to please come forward and address the audience. Mr. Javed Jabbar is the former Minister of Information and Senator. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Javed Jabbar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Talib Kareem, President of MAP, distinguished fellow speakers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am jumping the queue. It's very impolite, accustomed as I am to being discourteous, but only because an unavoidable disruption of a schedule made me come late and leave early. But it's a privilege to be here with all of you. I can see a very exceptional assembly of people, bright and early at 9 a.m., mashallah. I had calculated that if it said 9, these highly important gentlemen and ladies won't come before 9:30. How mistaken I was. How flawed is human judgment. And one is mistakenly sometimes called a leader, though one doesn't deserve to be. But when I looked at the theme of this convention, it was very provocative. Timeless leadership. Is there such a thing as timeless leadership? It's an oxymoron. Leadership, how can it be timeless? Values are timeless. Principles of leadership are timeless. But leadership itself is fortunately, refreshingly mortal. The graveyards are full of indispensable people. And indispensable leaders. Leaders come and go. But the concept of leadership, yes, that should be timeless in theory. But in practice, timelessness implies a kind of staticness, a fixedness, that should not change. And yet, the study of the history of leadership shows that leadership itself needs to change, needs to adjust to new conditions, objective conditions that may change, that may require diametrically opposite actions, which are sometimes perhaps rightly dismissed as making U-turns. But what happens if objective conditions change and you have taken decisions earlier according to different objective conditions? Should one relentlessly stick to that position because I want to be consistent? So, leadership requires flexibility. And we are in the month of March, a few days away from the anniversary of the adoption of the Lahore Resolution, which later became called the Pakistan Resolution, even though the word Pakistan does not occur in the text of the resolution. But studying how that text got drafted, day to day, minute to minute changes, right up to the last moment, and Mr. Jinnah's remarkable capacity to be flexible, to accommodate the leader of the Unionist Party in the Punjab, which actually was opposing the text of the resolution. They actually managed to make conditions difficult for the Muslim League, even though they were part of the Muslim League. But Mr. Jinnah did not lose his cool. He wanted to ensure unanimity. So he deliberately adjusted positions, phrases, and yet Sikandar Hayat, who led Punjab at that time, was not happy. So flexibility, and yet immutability, changelessness. And where does that come from? There are individuals here far better equipped. And we've just had an example, Dr. Amjad's very fine presentation, the tail end of which I caught, who are going to enlighten you with how timeless leadership should apply to institutions. in the public sector, in the private sector. I will have only one submission to make and just take another 3 or 4 minutes. When I look at the timelessness of leadership, I draw strength not from people who lead large institutions or even smaller institutions. I draw strength from the memory and the experience and the knowledge of what parents do as leaders, how they imbue the most important values in a human being at the formative stage. And it doesn't matter that they do not lead multitudes. They are not leaders of millions. They are leaders of 1 or 2 or 3 children. But the impact that they make on one child, a mother especially, can have a lasting, lifelong impact. And that one child, well motivated, well imbued with the right values, can then go on to serve as a multiplier who in turn has an effect on millions. So parents, father and mother, and I'm so privileged to have had 2, who didn't get along with each other, who divorced a few years after I was born. And I have no bitterness about that divorce, but each of them gave me whatever few merits that I think I have, which my wife, of course, strongly doubts whether I have any merits. But notionally, the gift of writing, the gift of reading, the gift of speaking, whatever one has in the heart or the mind, I treasure that. And when I travel around the country and see in villages, in towns, in slums, how parents can change the direction of a family, of a community. It's a miracle in motion. And there are millions of them in Pakistan. Anonymous, they'll never appear on television, and they won't be reported in the print. They might not be using social media, but they are truly timeless. And what do they represent? They represent the values of integrity, of respect for each other, respect for elders, compassion, which is what makes the Pakistani nation amongst the most compassionate people on earth. We may be making a mess of our official economy, but we can drive strength from the fact that timeless value of empathy for the other person is deeply ingrained in us. And I think that from values like that is where we will derive the strength to overcome the current morass that we are trapped in. We will recover because we have it within us, the heritage of belief in our parents, heritage of a great religion, and not only Islam, other religions that have flourished in Pakistan, and that we need to respect: Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, all of them. And I wish you well, insight and enlightenment as the day proceeds. And I do regret not being able to benefit by listening to you for the rest of the sessions. But thank you very much for your very valued attention. Thank you.